Alright. So, as we're getting started, I was reading a thing, I guess in the newest Minecraft snapshot. They updated Rails, so that way, you know, Rails are actually good now, or at least better. That you can basically make, like, particle accelerators in Minecraft, and just shoot yourself or villagers off at, like, the speed of light. And it's like, yeah, this is a much-needed change. Because minecarts are just so fucking slow. And I know Cam Man been out there doing the Lord's work, right? Trying to get them to improve minecarts, and it looks like he got everything he wanted. But my big thing is, even with this change, and it's like, okay, that's a neat change, I guess. The reason I wouldn't use it, still, is because Rails are just too expensive. Iron is such a valuable resource that I would never waste iron on minecart rails. Because, you know, I need it for so many other things. Oh, hey, look, Frey won a Splatfest. It's crazy. It went from her not winning for over a year and like 4 months. Because she won like the second or third Splatfest. Didn't win for like a year and 4 months. And then she won one, lost one, and now she's won one again. Crazy. And then the next one is, of course, the final one, our 2-year mark. She won the January, not one of, it was one of the first. It was a January Splatfest. The sweet, sour, and spicy one. So I was talking minecarts. You know what I think they should do to make minecarts better? Because iron is such a valuable resource that's rarer now than ever with the new cave generation. I feel like iron is rarer than ever. But you know what's not rare? Copper. You know what block has almost no uses in the game? Copper. I know, well, oh, they just added these new structures made entirely out of copper. You could just farm them to get infinite copper. And like, yeah, you're right. That encourages you to use minecarts. That encourages you to use one of the game mechanics. Now, I think the minecarts themselves should still be made out of iron. Oh, this opens up in like an hour. Okay. Okay, whatever. But no, I genuinely think making minecarts made out of copper would be a great little choice. Rails anywhere. And I'm fine with gold. Yeah, the gold rails are also pretty expensive. But gold has not that many uses either. Like, so that actually give gold something to do. But no, iron's just too valuable. Iron does too many things. And I know, well, oh, historically, train track railroads were made out of iron. And like, yeah, you're right. But this is a fucking video game. What, are you going to add the Chinese workers that all died on the making the railroads next? Like, come the fuck on, Mojang. You're a sponge to realism is the death of your game. Alright, so what are we talking about tonight? We have a few small news stories, nothing major. We got some stuff on Tango Gameworks, the developers of Hi-Fi Rush. We got some stuff on the Plucky Squire, right? The game developed by Devolver Digital, art by James Turner. We got an update on when that's getting released. We got an update on that game's release date. We got some Switch 2 stuff, because guess what? It's a week. It's another week, another Switch 2 rumor. Right, you can tell we're past the E3 point, that we're now getting Switch 2 rumors again. Because, right, there was that dead period between, like, the end of June and July, and the entire month of July, where there was just no news whatsoever. And I feel like with Gamescom usually marks the end of that. But Gamescom is, like, next week or in 2 weeks. Gamescom is right around the corner. So yeah, the yearly summer news drought is over. And we now get to talk about things. So of course Switch 2 rumor started up. Sure, is it the same rumor we've been hearing for the past 6 months? Yeah, but we'll talk about it. And then I have a few WIBE things. We got, we have the finale of the new Fairly Odd Parents show, A New Wish, which I did watch. And I think I meant to talk about it last week and then just didn't write it down in my notes. Because admittedly, we had no notes last week. And then we've got, what else do we have? Oh, we have some Superman comics. Still have not watched that new Batman show. I'll get around to it. Shit. Yeah, I still have not watched that new Batman show. But I did read I read 2 Superman comics. So I do want to talk about both of them. All-Star Superman is not one of them, even though it will be next week, because I did actually start reading I started reading All-Star Superman earlier today. And I got like 3 or 4 issues in. But I didn't finish it, so we'll talk about it next week. And yeah, I think that's it. So yeah. Oh shit, we gotta change our shirt. I always forget about the stupid default shirt. I guess they did reveal that the next Splatfest votes start on... Oh, when is it? I think votes start on like the 2nd or 3rd. There'll be 2 weeks of leading up to the Splatfest. And then the Splatfest will run for like... I want to say it was 4 days. That sounds right. That might not be right, but that sounds... We got some more information on the Splatfest. But yeah, I think it opens up that first week of September. And, like, you have 2 weeks... You know how, like, Splatfest start with, like, a pre-conch gathering thing for teams? Yeah, that's where it's starting. Because, yeah, we're going to get to determine the fate of the next Splatoon game that launches on the Switch 2. That would be a great segue, but actually, our first news story is different. So, our first news story is about Tango Gameworks. So, if you do not know, if you have not been in the loop, Tango Gameworks is the developer of Hi-Fi Rush. They've also done other games. I want to say they're one of the studios that worked on Ghostwire Tokyo. But right, in recent years, Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush was their big thing, and people love that game. I admittedly have not played it, but, you know, people really enjoyed it. It did well, it got a lot of publicity, and yet, even with that, Microsoft still considered that game a failure. Because even though it was big and it was popular, it was on Game Pass. So anyone who had Game Pass could play Hi-Fi Rush, and as a result, it didn't actually sell that many copies, which caused some problems. This is just more bullshit in the gaming industry, right? Oh, woo, this game is super successful. Oh, look at that. Look how good this game's doing it. Right? It won multiple awards last year. And even with all that, Tango Gameworks was unceremoniously shut down by Microsoft earlier this year, right? Because they had, right, the original Hi-Fi Rush did so well that they were talking about doing a sequel, and right, they were going to bring in new talent, new people to work on it, and Microsoft was like, nope, that's too expensive. Instead, in order to preserve our bottom line, we're instead going to shut you down. Because even though video games are the most profitable industry, right, they make billions of dollars annually. Nope, you always got to keep the number going up. And right, them making millions and billions of dollars. Nope, it's not enough. You got to keep the number going up. And the easiest way to keep the number going up, to close down studios, to fire staff. It happens time and time again. And this year especially, we have seen thousands of people in the video game industry be laid off. Truly fucking abysmal. while of course these companies report record profits, right? Because they've got to keep paying fucking people like David Zaslav billions of dollars. No, seriously, the video game industry is a bubble that will burst one day. I don't know when that day will be. I don't know if it'll be anytime soon. But it is a bubble that will burst. Because doing stuff like this consistently just isn't sustainable. And with every game wanting to be a live service, it's just never going to work out. But that's besides the point. So Tango Gameworks got shut down. Truly a terrible thing by Microsoft. Sadly, it's just another one of their, business decisions to preserve their bottom line. But this week, it was announced that Crafton, the publisher behind... Oh god, I have it written down here in my notes. Give me a second. I was watching a thing on Saturday. The publisher behind... where the fuck is it? Oh, PUBG. The publisher behind PUBG, Crafton. They have acquired Tango Gameworks. They have acquired the IP to Hi-Fi Rush. And they are looking to explore the explore Hi-Fi Rush, expand it. So it looks like we might be getting that sequel. This doesn't really happen all that often. If I'm being completely honest with you, this is a good thing. That just doesn't happen all that often. The only other time I can think of something like this happening in recent history is with, when Rooster Teeth shut down. A bunch of its subsidiaries were able to buy back their IP and write their RSS feeds, their old stuff. Like Ruby got sold to one of those companies. I don't think it was Crunchyroll. I think it was like Funimation or one of those places. Ruby got sold off. The podcast network that Rooster Teeth ran got sold to Mr. Beast, or one of his companies. So, right, stuff like this does happen. It's just very rare. And I can't think of a single other case of this happening in the video game industry. I'm sure it's the only other things I can think of that are even kind of similar to this is when, Bungie went independent, right? When they got out of, Activision Blizzard's thumb, only to then go under Sony's thumb. And there's been a lot of controversy about that recently, and them being and them, I think, having to lay off a bunch of employees. Yeah, no, it's not going well for Bungie right now. So, yeah, this doesn't really happen that much. But no, this is a good story, right? That these people were able to come in, they're able to, I'm sure some of the employees, hopefully were between the time Microsoft shut them down earlier in the year and now that the studio has been revived, some of these people probably found new jobs, right? So I'm sure not everyone who worked there previously is coming back. I'm sure some things have changed. But no, the fact that, because, this is a game that did well, and if these people should be given the rights to make what they want, because it did well, right? Right, like you see something like the developer who made Redfall also got shut down. Did they deserve to be shut down? No. I want to say it was Arcane Austin. They did not deserve to be shut down. But, you see why Microsoft would cut them first, sadly. Because, in the modern video game industry, you make one failed game, and your entire studio gets shut down. We see that more and more nowadays, sadly. This should not be the same, right? One failed game should not doom your entire company, right? It's like, right, same thing with, movies. One underperforming movie should not bankrupt your entire company. God, could you imagine if whatever studio just released Harold and the Purple Crown, where, imagine if that one bad movie killed off an entire studio? That sounds fucking crazy. I mean, that's a bad movie, but that sounds crazy. But no, that's just kind of how it works in the video game industry, sadly. But right, the Hi-Fi Rush thing was it proved that whether you have a failure of a game like Redfall or a successful game like Hi-Fi Rush, either way, these corporate monopolies will shut you down. But it's good to see, they're gonna come back. What exactly that's going to look like, we don't know. right? We're not going to know for years, probably. But it's good that it happens. Hopefully, you know, some people who were out of a job now have a job again. And yeah, fuck Microsoft. Fuck Microsoft, fuck capitalism, what else is new? So, our next story, it's Nintendo Switch 2 time. So, every few weeks, right, it used to be a weekly thing. Every week we were talking about either the Nintendo Switch 2, the Xbox, or the PS5 Pro. I feel like we kind of... The Xbox was eventually revealed. I feel like nobody's talked about the PS5 Pro in months. Because who gives a shit, honestly? Also, did they announce that the PS5 Pro Slim this year or last year? I don't remember. Either way, right, this used to be a weekly thing, but it's been a while since it's been a weekly thing, so it's now a weekly thing again. And yeah, the Switch 2, a new rumor came out that... Where did it come from? Let me check my source real quick. But basically, the rumor is that the PS5, or the Switch 2 will not be releasing until, at the earliest, April of 2025. So, right, myself and many others had previously speculated that the Switch 2 was going to follow the same release pattern as the original Switch. Because if you don't remember, the original Switch was revealed in October. They did a, basically, like, live on-stage Nintendo Direct style thing. You know, like a very traditional conference about the Switch where they revealed, you know, Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, ARMS, Octopath Traveler, a few other things, you know, the story trailer for Breath of the Wild. All that was revealed in January. And then the actual system came out, like, March 3rd. And now my suspicion was that the Switch 2 was going to do the same thing. It was going to get revealed in October. It was going to have a big showcase breaking down the entire first year in January. And it was going to release sometime in March. Well, it looks like that might be... I still think something like that's going to happen. But it looks like it's going to, you know, be broken up a little bit more. Or at least it's going to be maybe a little slower. Because now the rumors are saying that, no, it's not going to come out in March. It's going to come out in the first half of 2025. So, you know, within the first 6 months. But it might be as early as May or as late as June. Or as early as April, I mean. Or as late as June. So basically, basically, it felt like before we were working within like a March or April window. We're now working with like an April to June window. Even though I doubt it's coming out in June. Because again, June is E3. They're probably not going to show the next big thing at E3. You know, they're probably not going to release it the same week as E3. Probably not. I would guess it would come out the week, you know, before then. So I think we're more likely working with an April to May window. So, right, the reason for this, we still don't, again, there are two main reasons rumored as to why this is happening. One is, you know, to meet production demand, which, I mean, Nintendo did come out a few weeks ago and say that, hey, their plan to stop scalpers was to meet production demand. To just make so many of these things that there'll be too many for people to scalp. That, right? Basically avoid what happened with the Switch, the Wii, the PS5. And you know what? It's a fair idea. Right? Like, I get that. Will it work? We'll see. But I get where they're coming from. And then the other rumor for it was that the reason they delayed it was to make sure there were enough games. That, you know, because supposedly it was originally supposed to come out in, like, October of this year. So, like, in, like, 2 months. But it got pushed because they didn't have a good enough games lineup. Right? They didn't have a strong first-party launch or lineup at launch. And you know what? That's a reasonable expectation. Right? Because the original Switch launched with Breath of the Wild, one of the best games of all time. And so you can't launch the Switch 2, right? I mean, you can launch it with something less than that, but you're going to want to try to hit something similar. Of course, the big speculation is the next Mario Odyssey. Be that Mario Odyssey or something entirely new. And I think that's a pretty fair assumption. You know, like, I get how you get to that. The other thing I say is launch with a Mario Kart. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is one of the best-selling games of all time. Basically, it's like one in every, like, 2.5 Switch users. It's something ridiculous like that. It's not 1 in 2. It's a little less than that. But yeah, it's almost half of all Switch users own Mario Kart 8. That's ridiculous. So, you know, trying to launch with another Mario Kart, even if it's just within the first few months, good idea. That's a good idea there. But we'll actually see what they end up doing with that. I don't know if there's been any other speculation. I don't expect a new Zelda, obviously. I could see them launching with an updated port of Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. Have like Breath of the Wild Deluxe Edition and Tears of the Kingdom Deluxe Edition. Right, the Breath of the Wild Edition just is better, right, $10, you get the better graphics. Tears of the Kingdom Deluxe Edition, same thing, $10, better graphics. Maybe they add the Master Mode in, because I'm kind of surprised the original Tears of the Kingdom didn't have a Master Mode. Yeah, other than that, I don't really expect much. Just if I'm just being honest, I don't expect a new Zelda. I expect Metroid Prime 4 sometime within the first year. But if this is happening in April, I'm amazed we won that, actually. That felt a lot like I felt like we were losing that for like 90% of that. There is a non-zero chance that Metroid Prime 4 now comes out in March. If this thing doesn't come out until April, they could release Metroid Prime 4 in March. And then when it on Switch 2, it's also there day one. I guess like you know how like the GameCube came out and then like 2 weeks later Melee came out? Like it wasn't a launch title, but it was like 2 weeks later for some reason. I could see them doing basically the reverse of that. Like, yeah, Metroid Prime 4 comes out now on Switch, but hey, in 2 weeks it'll be out on Switch 2 when it releases in April. Right, like I could see them doing something weird like that. At that point, you just push it. There's no reason to not release it on both. Right, kind of like what they did with Breath of the Wild or Twilight Princess. Yeah. Oh, I guess they're saying, I said April to June. It's actually April to July. I don't know. July, I consider July is month 7. I consider that the second half of the year, but whatever. And then supposedly it's going to cost under $500. Which, yeah, supposedly right? Supposedly this new Switch isn't going to have an OLED screen. And while I know some people are very unhappy with that, and like, I kind of get it. Right, part of the reason Nintendo's doing it is to keep prices down. I think the best solution is to just do an OLED and a non-OLED model. Right, and the OLED's, what, your extra 50, extra $100. Kind of like what Valve did with the Steam Deck. Because I know they have an OLED and a non-OLED model. I don't know how the Vita worked, admittedly. I want to say the Vita OLED model came out like years later. But, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. Alright, so yeah, I've said in the past that I'm going to do Switch 2 predictions at some point, but I still think I'm going to wait until that first week of October. Even if the actual reveal doesn't happen until, like, November, right? Because if it doesn't happen until November or December, I don't think it'll happen in December. I think they'll do it in November. I know there is the worry about doing it before the holiday season, because you want people to buy the Switch before the Switch 2. Right, before the Switch 2 is launched, that holiday season. You want people to get the normal Switch. And I think the best possible solution is you put the Switch on sale. The Switch has never gone on sale. So, for the holiday season this year, people know the Switch 2 is coming. But hey, guess what? If you've never gotten a Switch before, now's the perfect time to do that. Because, hey, guess what? The Switch is on, right, the original Switch is on sale for the first time ever. I think that would make a lot of sense. We'll see if they actually do it, though. Yeah. The other thing we do have to talk about now, though, are we getting a Nintendo Direct in September? Right? Usually we get 3 Nintendo Directs a year, once in February, once in June, and 1 in September. That's how it's been for years now, right? I don't know if they've missed the June Direct, they've missed the January/February Direct. I don't know if they've ever missed the September Direct. So it now begs the question, are we going to get a September Direct? Because a lot of people were saying that the most recent Switch Direct was the last Direct for the Nintendo Switch. Because, hopefully by the time, the next one would be coming around, it'd be about the Switch 2. But with this potentially, being until April, that may not be as feasible anymore. And you know what? That's totally possible. So I think there is a total non-zero possibility that we get a Switch 2 Direct. Or a Switch 1 Direct next month. What do they reveal? I don't fucking know. I mean, you show off some more of Zelda, you show off some more Mario, you show off some indie games, right? Stuff like that, obviously. But other than that, I don't really know what else you reveal. Yeah, Mario, you show, I guess Donkey Kong, I don't know. Honestly, we don't need to see any more Donkey Kong. Of course, they're going to keep showing it, but we don't actually need it. No, they could show off more Brothership. They could show off more, other things. It usually happens early September. So they can definitely show off more Zelda. Not that I need to see any more of Zelda, if I'm being completely honest. Like, I feel like I've seen everything I need to of that game. Yeah, I don't know, maybe that first week of September, I'll do, Nintendo Direct predictions, just to kind of play it safe, even though I don't think much is going to happen. Yeah. But speaking of games releasing in September, so, the Plucky Squire was a Devolver Digital game, probably revealed at a Devolver E3 Direct, and it looked amazing, right? Everyone thought it looked fantastic, because, it had this amazing art style by James Turner, one of the guys who worked on Pokemon, and it looked fantastic, and then boom, you get the end of the trailer reveal that, hey, guess what, surprise, surprise, you can actually go into, like, a 3D world. That the game may be 2D, right, like you're in, like, a coloring book, or, a children's book, but the game actually opens up into, like, a 3D environment, and it just looked really cool, right? It was one of those games where it's, like, just based on looks alone, it sold everybody. Like, even if the 3D gimmick wasn't there, I'd still think it looked fantastic. Because, again, it's James Turner doing the art. He's made some great Pokemon over the years. So, yeah, everyone was pretty impressed with that. And so we were waiting for a release date. And we didn't hear anything at E3, which was where I thought we were going to get something. And when nothing came at E3... I had honestly, with everything that's gone on with indie games this year, aka no Silk Song, I was completely open to the possibility that we just weren't going to get this game this year. Because you know what? And I'd have no problem with that. It's a very good-looking game. It's very ambitious, clearly. If we didn't get the Plucky Squire this year, that wouldn't have broken my heart, Because they're clearly doing a lot, right? It's clearly got a lot of creative ideas. It's no big concern that it's not coming out this year, at least for me anyways. That was kind of the thing, I think I said that sometime during E3, that I wasn't too beat up if this game had gotten delayed. Right. Because, it's an indie game. This ain't like Hollow Knight where we had been waiting, 5-6 years at this point? Or Silk Song, I mean. Right, this is different. That could be a good, a September Direct could be a good place to show Silk Song. It's not going to happen, obviously, but it could be a good place. Actually, there's been a lot of... I guess they released some Silk Song merchandise earlier this week. At least, I don't think I made that up. I think that actually happened. I don't know, it might have been a dream, but I think we got some new Silk Song merchandise. So that might actually be closer than we think. And, a September Direct would make sense. But that's semantics, I think the logical thing, right? So with this Plucky Squire, I was not expecting, right? I'd kind of resigned myself to like, if it gets delayed, it gets delayed. We got a reveal yesterday? I think yesterday sounds right. That no, the game actually comes out September 17th. It is literally a month away from tomorrow. Because tomorrow is the 16th. Or today is the 16th. Tomorrow is the 17th. So yeah, it literally comes out a month from tomorrow. Admittedly, I was not expecting that quick of a turnaround. You know, I love that quick of a turnaround, man. Like, that's really cool that they were, right, it's only a month away. That's pretty awesome. We're, of course, going to have to see how that all plays out. But I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. But no, I think this game looks great. The September 17th release date is a really cool release date. Hey Anoros, how's it going? I'm doing pretty okay. Ugh. It's been a weird week. But yeah, no, I'm super excited for the Plucky Squire. I think it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Could it disappoint? Of course, anything can disappoint. But so far, I'm excited for it. The other game that I didn't even know this got revealed until when I saw the Plucky Squire trailer. I went to watch it because they gave us like a release date trailer, and I saw on the related things Trombone Champ. So if you've never played, Trombone Champ is a game about trombones. It's a rhythm game, but I think it's one of the best rhythm games. I highly recommend it on the Switch. I think it's so much fun. It's got multiplayer. It's just an all-around good experience. And they announced yesterday, with no fanfare, that they're doing it in VR. It's called Trombone Champ Unflattened. And it's a VR, it's in VR, it's got a fully VR experienced world. Let me just pull up the trailer real quick. Let me see if I can just pull that up. Give me a second. I kind of want to watch this trailer. Let's see if I can find it. I know I can, I just need a minute. Trombone Champ Unflattened. Is there Yeah, sure, let's go with this one. Alright. There we go. Let me get some audio. So this is Trombone Champ VR.
And so it comes to pass. Brave soul, one day you will stand before two baboons. One day you will rend the very fabric that binds this land. But until that day comes, you must toot.
Look at it. Look at that. This is exactly what I'd want from this game. I love this game so much. Look, you've got a whole concert hall. I don't know if there are new music tracks. It looks like the tracks are better ordered. There's new trombones. I definitely recognize that. Cards look mostly the same. There might be some new ones. I like the dual-sided thing. I think that's an interesting idea. But I love new trombones. This is great, being able to customize your trombone. That's a great little feature. Yeah, everything about that looks fantastic. Unflattened. And it's coming fall of this year. MetaQuest, Steam, and PSVR 2. I'm so sick of VR games that are only coming to fucking MetaQuest. It's so annoying. Also, little diatribe. I hate that they release. So there's a connector for the PSVR 2 to work on PC. They made it. They only made like 10 of them. I saw it, and like a friend had been like, hey, can you help me get that? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll help you. They sold out instantly. So I was unable to, you know, get one of those PC VR connectors, because one of the games I had always wanted to play was Half-Life Alyx. And that's not on PSVR 2, but it's on Steam, and, you know, a friend was like, hey, if you help me get the connector thing, we'll play Half-Life Alyx. And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds great. I want to play Half-Life Alyx, because neither of us have played it. So that's not happening. My day's been going fine. Where is it? You know, it's been going okay. You know, it was a busy day at work. That's basically it. Oh, yeah, I don't need any art. Oh shit. So yeah, but no, I think the trombone champ, I love customizing the trombone. Because in Trombone Champ, there are only there's 5 different character models and 5 different trombones. Okay, there might be 6. There's not that much customization. Which, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. But it was one of those things where it's like, I wish there was more customization in that game. And nope. Like, yeah, you can get a few things. Like, you can get the 3D graphic player. You can get, like, a crystal trombone. You can get some fun things. But not that much. So seeing it in VR, I think that's a great idea. Definitely, I'll consider picking that up. It does, I think Trombone, I loved the multiplayer, and that's going to kind of be one of the things that kind of sucks to lose. Because I think Trombone Champ multiplayer was pretty fun. Just because, you know, it's very chaotic. It was a very chaotic game. Because, yeah, I actually... Did I beat that working? No, maybe I didn't beat that working with a group of people. I know I played it like a few times with groups. But this... yeah, I think it looks great. I wonder when it's... I hope it's not coming out in September. Because September is so fucking busy. Someone was like, in September, you have the Plucky Squire on the 17th now. You've got Zelda 2 weeks later on the 29th. And there's like one other big game coming out in September. Admittedly, I don't remember what it is, but I know there's like one other game. And in October, you've got Mario Party. And November, you have Brothership. Oh, the other thing I realized about that, speaking of release dates and whatnot, I saw a post that was like, oh yeah, Super Mario Brothership comes out in like 85 days. And I was like, oh wow, that's not far at all. And then I see another post that's like, hey, the US election is in 84 days. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? I had not realized up until this point that the US election is the day before Super Mario Brothership comes out. Mario and Luigi Brothership. I guess probably the opposite is more important. I'd never even realized. Oh god, is this where we get to politics? Please don't. Politics. I saw a video of Tim Walz and Kamala Harris sitting down and talking about stuff. And right as they're like sitting down, he's like, oh yeah, you know, I make white people tacos. And she's like, what's white people tacos? Mayo and tuna? And he just laughs and he's like, no, I just don't use any seasoning. And it's like, and you know, because there's that famous song by Lou Berger, White People Taco Night, and he's making a reference to that. And right, she's just kind of laughing along with it. And I'm like, this is great. This is a genuine human conversation. Like, I don't believe Trump or Vance have ever had a human conversation in their lives. Like, God, there was an interview that J.D. Vance gave the other week where the interviewer gave him, like, a softball question of what makes you happy. Right? That's such a softball, bottom-of-the-barrel question. What makes you happy? He couldn't fucking answer the question. He literally, what makes you happy? Right? He could have just said his wife, his kids. Of course, that'd be a lie, because, you know, Republicans hate their kids. But, you know, he could have said that. No, he couldn't answer the fucking question. Same thing, like someone asked either him or Trump, what makes you smile? No answer. they had no answer, because Republicans have never felt happy in their lives, right? Like, Trump has never been happy. He hates his kids. They're just fucking miserable people. Meanwhile, yeah, I see Kamala and Walls, and I'm like, oh, these are, like, actual people. Like, these are humans, right? She goes on to talk about how she planted, like, a chili garden at the White House, right? The first ever one. And I'm like, yeah, this is something, like, an actual person would do and say. Not some fucking political Nazi robot. Holy shit. So, yeah, no, I'm still... Man, things might turn... I've not fully gotten my hopes up for anything. Again, I lived through the Hillary election. Admittedly, we are in a very different situation than we were in Hillary. Like, I don't even think people gave 1% of a shit about Hillary as they do about Walls and Kamala right now. Like, I feel like hope is in right now. Whereas with Kamala, or with Hillary, it was just like, oh shit, this is something we've got to do. Well, I guess so. Same thing with Biden. It was just like, okay, it's not great, but it could be 4 more years of Trump. Like, fuck. Whereas with Kamala, I'm like, no, I'm genuinely hopeful, right? She introduced, or she's, talked about her policy for, like, stopping price gouging, and, all these retailers who are just like, yep, we're going to increase the price of bread by, like, 200%. Why? Fuck you, that's why. And it's like, yeah, you know what? That's something that people actually want. Because, surprise, surprise, when you do progressive policies, progressive people will actually fucking vote for you. In fact, a lot of centrist people will vote for you as well, because they also like those progressive policies. Right? They may not actively say it, but they do like a lot of those policies. Okay, there's my politics. It's good to see some actual human being. Of course, they're still politicians, but they're the most human politicians I've seen since Obama. Right? And that was... God, that was like 16 fucking years ago, man. It's been a long time. Oh, and then Trump was talking shit on people who get the Medal of Honor. Like, fuck him, man. I don't know how the Republicans are the party of the military. Like, seriously. All they do is fuck over veterans. Like, that's I feel like every policy they pass, right, that relates to veterans just fucks them over. And somehow they've come out the party of the military. Like, fuck, man. Because, yeah, they fucking hate that. Trump especially hates veterans. Okay, yeah, let's move on. I was gonna look up our September game. That's how we kind of got sidetracked. Games that released in September. Let me do that real quick. And when I don't find anything, we'll move on. You know what comes out this month? Astrobot. Astrobot comes out, I think, either the very end of this month or very early next month. That's great. It might be early next month, actually. Maybe that's the 3rd September game. Dragon Age, I guess, is coming out. Oh, okay, never mind. It's not Dragon Age. Where the fuck is September? Oh, yeah, okay, I guess it is. Astrobot is September 6th. Then a week later is the Plucky Squire, or maybe 2 weeks later is the Plucky Squire. And then 2 weeks later from that is The Legend of Zelda. September is so fucking busy. Oh my gosh. Again, compared to last year, yes. Is this not as good of a year for gaming? Yes. Is this still a pretty decent year for gaming? Yeah. I mean, a Zelda game, a great looking indie game, and Astrobot? Yeah, like, gosh, what else can you hope for, man? At least for me, anyways, it's been a great year. I know some people are pretty doom and gloom about things. The Call of Duty, Madden people. Even though, the Call of Duty people should be happy because, the new Black Ops and all that. But I doubt it. I doubt it. We're not getting a Pokemon game this year. because they're actually gonna spend their time making something good instead of rushing something out to fit the yearly holiday release. Man, like, what else could you ask for? Alright, so what have I been enjoying? WIBE time. So I went to Macca's, because if you haven't seen, they've been doing these, like, cups. They're these, like, I know they're plastic, I wish they were glass, but they've been doing these, like, nostalgic McDonald's cups. They're, like, there's a Coca-Cola one, there's a Beanie Baby one, a Barbie Hot Wheels one, I think there's a Hello Kitty one, there's a Shrek one, and then I think there's just like a McDonald's Land one. And man, sometimes I'm a sucker for nostalgia. Specifically that Barbie Hot Wheels one. Like, I remember the Barbie Hot Wheels toys, right? The boys' toys versus the girls' toys. And, right, being so upset as a kid because they gave me a girl toy, and... oh, the way we gender children. Regardless, right, I remember that. I have a very deep-seated nostalgia for that. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me take a swing, see what I get. I got two. I got a Beanie Baby one, and I got a Coca-Cola one. I think they're hopeful, again, assuming everything's fine with them, I think they'll be good milk glasses. Like, they're like the perfect size for, like, a glass of milk. So that's kind of my plan for it. Because the only, I used to have, like, a good, like, milk glass, and I think I cracked it or something, or maybe I dropped it and it, like, shattered. I don't exactly remember what happened to it, but I don't really have a good milk glass, because I don't drink milk all that often, right? It's more of, like, a rare thing, but I feel like there's, like, a perfect amount of milk, because, like, any of the cups I use for water, I use, like, the massive Rudy's cups, and those are great for water. Right, you get a lot of water in those. But, you know, I don't want that much milk. And I don't want, like I have these, like, little baby cups. They're not, like, sippy cups. But, you know, they're, like, smaller, like, little mugs. That are like, hey, you know, you need to swallow a pill, you want to get some water, and you're not getting a big glass? Oh, boom, these are perfect size for that. They're perfect size for shots, but let's not worry about that one. But, yeah, no, it's like, these are, like, the perfect size for that. So, yeah. So, I did that. I got those. The food, it's fucking McDonald's, man. Like, what else do you expect? There's something about a McDonald's fry. Like, the moment... Because, you know, I went through the drive-thru. The moment you get it, McDonald's fries are one of the best thing you've ever had. Like, if they're fresh, still warm, they're the most amazing thing in the world. And then every subsequent minute, they just get a little worse. Right, but that first... I feel the same way about, like, Wendy's coffee, weirdly enough. Like, if you've ever had Wendy's coffee, I think the first sip of Wendy's coffee, like their Frosty Chinos or whatever, immaculate. That first sip is amazing. But each subsequent sip just gets a little worse. So, but no, it's Macca's. That's it. Didn't try anything else, didn't have anything else, who cares? Will I try it again to get, you know, the one I want? I don't know, probably not, but you never know. I don't know, I don't have any plans to do anything anytime soon. Because, like, if they had introduced, like, a new burger to go alongside with it, and that burger was, you know, decent, it'd be a different story, but the fact that they didn't, it's just one of those, like, meal things. So what have I been... Have I watched any TV? Oh, yes. So I watched The Fairly Odd Parents. So 2 weeks ago now, I think we talked about Fairly Odd Parents: A New Wish. I had watched the first, like... I don't remember how many episodes there were this season, I had watched the first, like, 10 or 15, and I was like, you know what, this is a decent show. Like, yeah, it's a kid's show, like, it's like the first Fairly Odd Parents. But I still think it's a very solid show. I feel like it's recaptured some of the magic that the original show did. It's got some fun. It's basically the premise, right? It's like the Fairly Odd Parents. I don't remember the original show being this formulaic. It might have. Okay, it's not as formulaic as Phineas and Ferb. But you know, it's got basically how every episode works is Hazel will make a wish, and then that wish will have some sort of unintended consequence. Right? Something happens that, you know, Wanda and Cosmo can't undo. So she instead has to, like, figure it out herself. Like, one of the early examples is she wishes her friend Jasmine? That sounds right in my head. She wishes she didn't have fear. So, right, that's a very standard wish. And, like, I feel like in the original Fairly Odd Parents, if, like, Timmy had made that wish, it would have had, like, the character would have been doing, like, daredevil, acrobatic stunts and whatnot. Just, you know, completely living life without fear. And then Timmy would have, like, wished to undo the wish. But that would have been, like, while he's, like, walking a tightrope, you know, across the Empire State Building, and, oh, now the character's afraid again, and he's almost gonna die, and Timmy has to go save him. Like, that's how the original show worked. In this show, she grants the wish to get rid of her fears, but as an unintended consequence, all the fears kind of, like, come to life, and are now, like, messing with students around the school. So she then has to, like, conquer those fears, or get her friend to conquer those fears. And that's the only way to defeat them. Right? And that's, like, how everything works in this show. Like, Hazel, as part of her character design, she has a tooth gap. So in one episode, she wishes to have, to fix her gap. So, of course, they bring in the Tooth Fairy. But the tooth, right, she fixes her gap with a new tooth. But the unintended consequence is that the tooth is alive. And the tooth is an asshole who's, like, throwing a party. Right? Shit like that. Like, she'll make a wish. It'll have some sort of unintended consequence. And then she can't just wish away the unintended consequence. She has to figure it out. Right? She has to, like solve a puzzle to figure out how to, you know, undo the wish, basically. I think it works, right? Again, it feels different from the original show, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Right? There's a lot of episodes that work like that. She wishes that her parents could meet again for the first time. So, of course, right, it's like they make it so that her parents had never met. And then she basically has to bring in Cupid. And she ends up competing against Cupid to make her parents fall in love again. And it's like, yeah, you know, that's kind of... It's kind of sweet, right, seeing her parents fall in love again. Yeah, there's just a lot of episodes like that. Right, we talked more about last time about, like, how Hazel doesn't really feel like she doesn't feel anything like Timmy. Like, Timmy was an abused child. He was abused by his babysitter. He was neglected and unloved by his parents. Right? Like, I get how this kid got fairies. Very, like, Cinderella style. Hazel, on the other hand, doesn't really feel like that at all. Like, there's this guy, the Dev, her, like, her rival turned friend turned rival again. Right? Like, his father, Dale, from, you know, the original show, the guy who worked at the lemonade stand, you know, Doug Dimmadome kid, his dad does not love him. And, like, that's the big plot in the final episode, is Dev takes over Fairy World by working with the anti-IREP. I don't know, he should have just been called Anti-Perry. Right? Because, you know, if this show wanted to make the declaration that anti-fairies were just regular fairies' names backwards, and, like, that was basically like a retcon. Like, Anti-Wanda was no longer, right, Anti-Wanda. She was instead Adinawan or something like that. Like, if that's the new status quo they set, I would have been fine with that. The problem is they're very inconsistent with it. Like, Anti-Perry is IREP. And there is at one point, Hazel wishes to become a fairy, and they give her an anti-fairy. And I'm like, that's a very fun idea. But the anti-Hazel is called Lizelle, right? It's just Hazel's name backwards. And it's like, pick a lane here, show. If you want just retcon the original show to say all anti-fairies are backwards. I wouldn't be too upset with that, if I'm being honest. But yeah, no, so, right, Dev takes over Fairy World and, like, goes to brag to his father, like, hey, I've taken over the world, you know? I've exposed fairies. Right now, everybody knows fairies exist. And, he brings in his dad to, like, gloat, and even that doesn't get his dad to love him. And that's, right, he's, you know, like, whenever people talk about how good of a redemption arc Zuko has, one of the things they always bring up is that, right, one of the things that makes Zuko's redemption great is that he, you know, he's a villain who slowly starts turning into a hero, and then he kind of falls back into villainy before then fully going and becoming a hero. Right? That's one of the many great things about Zuko's villain redemption arc. It's way more complicated than that, but that's one of the great things about it. And yeah, this show kind of does that. Right? Dev starts off as a villain who then kind of gets a redemption arc, and then he realizes that, oh wait, his dad's paying more attention to Hazel than he is to him, which then sends him back on his villain arc. And, you know, the season ends with him trying to take over the world. Right? So it's doing some good stuff. I think Dev was a great antagonist for this first season. I still don't care about IREP. I'll be honest, I don't give a shit about the character, like, at all. But grounding him with Dev was clearly a good idea. I hope we get the Pixies in the next season. Admittedly, I don't remember much about the Pixies, other than, you know, they were bureaucrats. You know, the real villain is capitalism. But I hope we see them again next season. School's Out the musical, too. They were the villains of that one, right? I do not remember. I'll be honest, I don't remember that episode at all. I remember Wishology pretty well. But I don't remember School's Out the musical at all. God, wouldn't that be a crazy thing to... The darkness from Wishology... Or what? I think it becomes the joyness or the happiness or something like that at the end of that special. That'd be a fun reference. But yeah, no. At the end, right? All the fairies almost die in the season because, like, they bring back wish overload from the original show, where if, like, a fairy doesn't grant enough wishes, they'll eventually explode into confetti. They bring back that idea from the original show, and right, Perry almost dies. And then Wanda and Cosmo almost die. And again, I feel like what this show does with Wanda, Cosmo, and Perry was a very good idea. Alright, I like seeing Perry, right, all grown up. And I don't mind the name change at all. Because, right, there's a difference between naming a toddler and naming an adult. So yeah, no, I don't mind the name change at all. And then the season ends. So, right, the season ends. They defeat IREP. They defeat Dev. Right, everyone, for basically Jordan goes up and says, all of this was fake. This was just a promotional stunt. And everyone's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Crocker, when Dev reveals fairies are real, Crocker shows up and is like, I knew it. It was funny seeing him again. All the little callbacks are, you know, a lot of fun. Yeah, Timmy is kind of... Like, they never say his name's Timmy, but, you know, it's Timmy. But... And, like, I would... Honestly, if the show had just kept with the status quo, that, hey, guess what? The world now knows about fairies. I think that'd be a very interesting status quo for the rest of the show. Right? Like, breaking... Right? Like, because that's one of the rules. Is that people can't know about fairies. So being like, no, from this point on, everybody knows about them. That has some very interesting implications that I would love to see the show explore. But of course they undo it, but they undo it with an asterisk. Because Hazel, right, she's granted 1,000,000 wishes. Or, you know, Cosmo and Wanda have granted her, she's made 1,000,000 wishes, I guess is the better term. And so she gets a rule-free wish. You know, it would have been funny if she'd gotten the muffin, but regardless. Because I know, because if I want to say in the original show, Timmy got to 1,000,000 wishes in like 7 seasons. But he got the magic muffin in like season like 2? Probably season 3 actually. But you know, it was still pretty early on for that special. So yeah, I would have loved to have seen the magic muffin again. And right in her rule-free wish is that her brother and her 2 best friends know that fairies are real. And yeah, that's a great idea. Like, that's something the original show should have done. Right? The original show should have had Tootie, Chester, and AJ know that fairies are real. Because, right, the original show, whenever Timmy does something ridiculous, he just says, oh, it's like, where did you get this futuristic bike? The internet. Right, and yes, this show does reference that multiple times. But it's like, yeah, you know, now that her friends and her brother know that fairies are real, that, you know, adds a lot of interesting, like, that creates brand new dynamics for this show to explore, right? Like, I want to see them explore those dynamics. I think that sounds like a lot of fun, right? I wonder what they can do with it. I've loved the show's use of side characters, because it's more like in the original show, right, it's like, oh, well, you know, we need to, Cosmo and Wanda grant a wish, right? They just grant a wish. But in this show, it's like, oh, well, you want to grant a time-related wish? We got to bring in Father Time. Oh, you want us to grant a music-related wish? We have to bring in the music fairy. I love, right, like in the original show, it's like, oh, you want a love wish? You got to bring in Cupid. Right, even though, again, fairies can't manipulate love. So yeah, I feel like there's some, I loved the show's use of side characters, of Cosmo and Wanda having to, like they have to go out and find Mother Nature. Because, you know, Hazel accidentally turns herself into a potato. You know, fun stuff, I like stuff like that, man. And I feel like this, if you as an adult grew up with the Fairly Odd Parents, and you have kids now, I think you could show them this show, and they'd love it. They would love this show, and then afterwards you could be like, hey, you want to see the original show? Because for the most part, the original, at least the first, like, 3 seasons hold up pretty well. Basically, everything from the start to Channel Chasers holds up pretty well. So yeah, no, I enjoyed Fairly Odd Parents: A New Wish. Is it gonna get a second season? Maybe. I don't know. For some reason, we have all these fucking shitty streaming services now. And all the content is so divided. But you think like, oh, you know, Nickelodeon's owned by Viacom. Viacom is, you know, Paramount. So you would think like, oh, this show's on Paramount Plus. It's not. Or at least when I looked, I didn't see it there. I thought it was a Netflix show, because I swear when it leaked a while ago, it leaked as a Netflix show. Not there either. Why the hell was this not on one of the streaming services? Like, I would have totally watched this on a streaming service if it had been there. And instead I had to find other ways to access it. So that kind of sucks. Because, you know, I would have liked to have shown this show more support. Like, if it was on a streaming service, I would have liked to have shown it more support. Again, the streaming service wars are a nightmare. I don't know why. So, Elon Musk has this Twitter AI chatbot called Grok. And they added image creation to it, but there are no filters on the image creation. Other than you can't, like, you can't ask it to draw, like, a naked lady, right? Like, it won't do that. Other than that, it will basically do anything else. And people have been doing, like, how many copyrights can I infringe in one single image? So it's like, hey, Grok, create a picture of Mario and Mickey Mouse smoking weed while wearing Nike shoes and drinking Coca-Cola. And right, it's just been copyright speedruns. It's been pretty funny. There's some horrific stuff out there if you go looking for it. Because again, there's very little restrictions on this thing, and he's definitely gonna try to get sued. But I think it'd be so funny to do like a how many copyright violations can I commit with the fewest amount of words possible. Like I feel like if Grok was like a free service, like kind of like your Chat GPTs and whatnot, I feel like that would totally be a challenge, right? To see how fast we can get Elon Musk sued by Nintendo or Disney. Because fuck Elon Musk, man. Fuck him. I'm so glad his Donald Trump rally failed exponentially, right? Like, man, Elon Musk is just a touch of death in politics, and and on one hand, it's like, oh my gosh, it's awful, right? Everything he's doing. But on the other hand, you know, if he's teaming up with people like Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump, I'm glad he's the touch of death, because it's good to see their careers fucking die. Oh shit, I was hoping I wasn't gonna fall off that. So yeah, let's get away from politics. So, comic books. So, right, a few weeks ago, I talked about how I read Superman 4 Seasons, which I really enjoyed, and then I read Superman Smashes the Klan, which I also really enjoyed. So, since then, you know, I picked up a few more books. I picked up All-Star Superman, which I have started reading, but I'm only like 4 issues in, so I've still got like a ways to, and I might not even be 4 issues in, I might be less than that. But I finally started that earlier today, so we'll probably talk more about it next, because I've never read All-Star Superman before. I know it's kind of like one of the most beloved Superman comics of all time. I've never actually read it. And it's been good so far, right? It's been good so far. I like... Jimmy turning into Doomsday was not something I expected. That really surprised me. But the whole Black Kryptonite thing, that was really well done, actually. It's all been really well done. But so the 2 comics I did read were Superman Up in the Air by Tom King, and then I read Superman Birthright by Mark Waid. I think that was Mark Waid. Do I have my... No, I do not have it in this room. Never mind. But, right, so I read those 2 comics. Let's start with Superman Up in the Air, because it's the one I read first. So, Tom King, as a writer, is a writer I have very mixed feelings about. On one hand, I liked his Vision series. I thought it was... Admittedly, I never finished it. I only read, like, the first few issues. But I liked what was there. But on the other hand, there was The Wedding of Batman and Catwoman, The Gift, Heroes in Crisis... Just a bunch of shitty DC comics that I fucking hate. Especially Heroes in Crisis. My god, as someone who loves Wally West, them assassinating his character that hard, it's one of those things where I was kind of like, my god, I'll never forgive Tom King for this. And on some hand, I haven't, but on the other hand, this book was really good, actually. So if you don't know... Superman Up in the Air is right. It's about basically Superman. Here's a story about a girl. Right, there's basically, I think it's like a foster home or something like that. And basically the home gets attacked. The parents are killed. All the kids are killed except for 2. One is, you know, severely injured and passes away in like the first issue shortly after talking to Superman. And the other one is abducted. So and she's abducted off into space. And Superman's like, oh, well, you know, I want to go save her. But, you know, they need me on Earth, right? Metropolis needs me. And everyone like Batman, Wonder Woman, they tell Superman, like, it's okay. If you want to go looking for this girl, you can, right? We'll take care of things while you're gone. So, yeah, he goes off into space to find this girl. And we just, you know, we follow him on his adventures to, you know, find just this one girl. And, you know, it's the story about how Superman will do anything, go to any length, how he will never give up to save even just one person. And it's fantastic. Like, I was blown away by some of it. Like, the first issue, I was like, yeah, you know, this is interesting. I was like, okay. And then, I think it was issue 2 or 3, whichever one has the boxing, right? He ends up at, like, a boxing ring, where he ends up boxing this, like, other alien. And it's just kind of like, the alien's like, oh, go, right, they just keep beating the shit out of each other. And he's like, go down. And no matter what, Superman just keeps going up, right? He goes for another round. And they go for, like, 15 rounds. And eventually the other guy admits defeat. Because, yeah, Superman, right, they're both basically, like, equal strength, but Superman is just able to outlast him, because he never gives up. And it's beautiful, right? It's really well written, it's got good artwork. That was the moment where I was like, this went from a good book to a great book. I was super impressed with that story. Oh, wow, I got 2 minutes. And then, yeah, there's just a bunch of other good ones. It does jump around. It's kind of weird, because it jumps around a little bit. Like, it'll be, like, right, you go from, like, the boxing one, and then the next one, he's, like, floating out in space, and then in the next one, he's back in, like, he goes back in time to World War II, and then, you get a story from the girl's perspective, talking about the race between Superman and the Flash, and a bunch of other things, right? There's a bunch of other little stories like that. So that's, like, the one thing where I was like, okay, we're jumping around here a lot. Like, there's not much, like, other than the fact that, you know, Superman's looking for this girl. There's not too much connective tissue, but I think it all just, it works really well. The story is good, it's inspirational. Of course, in the end, you know, some bigger things are revealed, right? The whole reason this girl was kidnapped to begin with. And, like, did it need that bigger reveal? I don't know, but it works. Right? Like, it kind of feels like one of those things where it's like, okay, we need, like, a big third act, like, event to happen. And it's not bad. It's just kind of like, it feels like a little, like, out of nowheres. But in the end, I think it matches with the tone of the other story, with the rest of the story. So it all works. And yeah, no, I just really like it. The scene of him taking the girl back home, I had actually seen some of the, like, because if you've ever seen the comic page of a girl, right, someone asking Superman, who's your favorite Robin, and he's like, the first one. That's where this is from, right? It's from this comic, and I've seen that clip for years now. I had no idea it was from this comic, and there's just a bunch of cute little moments like that in the final issue. As you know, he brings her home, and yeah, it was fantastic. You know, for all my problems with Tom King, yeah, no, he clearly did something amazing here. He got some good work. The artist, whose name I do not remember off the top of my head, sadly. Also, great artwork. Just a fantastic job all around. I was really impressed. Yeah, no, when people say this is one of the best Superman stories, I get it. I get what they're talking about. Has this redeemed Tom King in my eyes? I don't know about that. I admittedly have not heard great things about his current Wonder Woman run. I don't... so, I don't know if Tom King's been redeemed in my eyes, but I don't have this, like, visceral hatred for him anymore. I guess that's the kindest way I can put things. Because, yeah, ooh, that... Again, Heroes in Crisis, man. It fucking sucks. It sucks so bad. And so, the other one I read was Superman Birthright. So, right, I was just kind of... When I was looking to read all these Superman stories, right, this is one of the ones where it's like, yeah, you know, it's a very, like, fundamental Superman story, you know. It starts with his origin story. We get a lot of background on Lex Luthor in this one. Right, we see how Clark and Luthor grew up in Smallville, right, how they used to be friends. And then eventually, you know, Lex lost his hair. And, you know, he became the, you know, monster he is today. You get a lot... honestly, Superman Birthright kind of reminds me of Watchmen. Not in the way of, like, it's, like, dark. Like, it's not, like... Like, Watchmen's its own thing, of course. And, right, looking at, like, the dark, like, more realistic portrayal of superheroes. But there's a moment in this where, like, Clark's, like, in the city, and all of a sudden this giant, like, alien shows up. And I'm like, this is just Watchmen. Right? I'm like, this is literally just, like, if like, another, like, million people had died here, this would literally just be the giant squid scene from Watchmen. So, yeah. I mean, again, I'm not going to draw too apt of a comparison more. There's a few other moments like that where I'm like, you know, this kind of reminds me of Watchmen. And that's, admittedly, I don't want Superman to be Watchmen, because, you know, they're just two very different things. But, you know, I feel like there's a moment in this where Lex Luthor basically creates a fake Kryptonian army. That's like, oh yeah, look, Superman was like the scout for an invading army. And, right, the Superman, right, this evil Kryptonian is where, right, has the Superman symbol. And he goes like, oh yeah, I'm going to change this from a symbol of hope to a symbol of fear. And even though Clark, right, he'd been hit with kryptonite, or, you know, kryptonite waves, and he was about to just leave and run away, the second that happens, he's like, nope, fuck that, I'm going back, and I'm gonna go kick this guy's ass. Right? Oh, Lex Luthor is trying to ruin my symbol? That's not gonna happen, right? I want people to look up and see hope, not fear. And yeah, that's a great moment. So that was good. The book, right, when you find the ending. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a moment in the ending that I just did not see coming that they set up in the first issue. And I didn't even realize it was going to come back. But when it does, I was like, oh, that is so nice, right? Just like, it's this very, like, it's like it's a single panel, but just like it's so heartfelt. Maybe a single page, and I was just like, I love that. Like that, like I did not expect that at all, right? Like I'd never seen that in another Superman story, but I feel like it worked very well. But yeah, no, I think it's a decent story. It's got a lot of fun ideas. Again, it's Superman's origin story. It starts with him like, the comic starts with him coming to Earth. We see him after college, moving to Metropolis, taking on the Superman identity, Lex Luthor hating him, and then trying to ruin him. And yeah, I feel like it does it all really well. I really enjoyed it, and I was really impressed. I feel like I have a lot less to say on it than Superman Up in the Air, but I just recommend reading. They were both pretty good. At least I thought they were. So yeah, I think of all the books I picked up, I think All Star is the last one I have to read. Because Red and Blue. I have not read Red and Blue either. That's the other one. I'm gonna read that. I guess that'll be the last one I read. There's other stuff, of course, I looked into. Like, Paul Dini did one called, like, Superman Peace on Earth. That I was like, oh, I'm curious about this one. But it's, like, the trade is pretty expensive for it. Not like, I'm talking, like, $50. Whereas, like, every other book I've talked about was, like, 20 or 30 at most. Well, especially because I got 4 all seasons for like over half off, so that helped. That one's actually more expensive, but I got it half off, so that was nice. Because that's technically where this all starts, is me finding out that 4 all seasons is half off and being like, oh fuck, I should read that. Yeah, no, man, I've just been in a Superman kick. And then I also picked up a copy of the 2016 Secret Wars. Because, like I said, I know the original Secret Wars pretty well. I know next to nothing about the 2016 Secret Wars. And, I know a few plot details here and there, but nothing, like, too specific, so I picked up a copy of it, and I just have to read it. At some point, I'm just going to have to sit down and read the 2016 Secret Wars. But I'll get around to it. Is this our first time getting Hammerhead? I feel like we've been at this rotation for like almost half an hour. And this is our first time getting Hammerhead Bridge. So what else? Is there anything else we got to talk about? Oh, fucking Starbomb released a new song today? Yeah, for the first time in like 8 years, they released a new Starbomb released a new song. Admittedly, I have not followed Game Grumps in years, definitely pre-pandemic. And actually, recently, I swear I remember hearing something about a new Starbomb song. Like a month or like 2 months ago now. Because I actually went back and re-listened to a bunch of old Starbomb songs a while ago. Because I remember hearing something about a new one. But I thought it was like one of those things I had like dreamed up until like, I think it was yesterday when I saw like, hey, new song comes out tomorrow. And yeah, it's just, they made another Pokemon song. It's them listing off stupid Pokemon names, but this time to the Smasher Pass thing. It was fine. I love the guy who does the animation, Shochiru. Fantastic animator. Love the stuff he's done for Ninja Sex Party, and love the animation here. So that's great. But yeah, other than that, it's a Starbomb song. Starbomb is one of those things, as a teenager, I fucking loved the original Starbomb. And hindsight, I don't think the original Starbomb holds up at all. Like, the original album is not great. Second album holds up a lot. Second and third albums hold up a lot better. Right? Having re-listened to them like a month ago, yeah, the second and third albums hold up a lot better. And so, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I thought this band was dead and gone forever, They did their 3-album run. Everyone kind of realized video game music only has one type of joke. That was it. But no, if they're coming back, blast from the past nostalgia, that's fine. I like that it's called Starbomb Boom, The Rise of Lyrics. Like, they're making fun of the Sonic game. That's a good joke. I don't know, am I a fan? Will this get me back into Game Grumps? and/or Ninja Sex Party. Actually, I never... It's not that I stopped listening to Ninja Sex Party. It's just kind of like a, you know, whatever. You know, they've done some fun... That partying song they did recently... Recently, I say like a year ago now. You know, Dance Till You Stop. That was fine, you know. They're okay. You know, Ninja Sex Party's fine. I'm still disappointed I've never seen them live. Because they have never... So, I've seen Game Grumps live. I think I've talked about this before. Because I think this show, when I saw them live, I was doing this show, right? See, we were back in Season 1. I saw Game Grumps live. And it was a pretty fun show, you know? It was a very simple, pretty fun show. And in that show, at the end of it, right, as they were, like, saying goodbye... Danny was like, oh yeah, we had a great time here. You know, next time Ninja Sex Party's on tour, we'll have to come out. You know, we'll add this place to our touring spot. And then they never did. Admittedly, COVID's probably half that problem. Because, you know, then a year later, COVID happened. And at least I think it was a year later. It might have been 2 years later. I don't remember what the deal was. I think it was a year later COVID happened. And, like, that was it. So I've still never seen Ninja Sex Party live. But I will always remember that. I will always remember, right, them saying like, oh yeah, we had a great time. We'll be sure to come back with Ninja Sex Party and Tupperware Remix next time we're on tour. And then that never happened. I think they also did like a European tour as well. That's part of the problem. Because no bands ever come here. Right? The only people that ever come here are fucking like... I don't know, fucking like Brad Paisley or some shit like that. That's just the first name. I don't know why that was the first name that came to my head. Yeah, no, it's... I'm not in the best place for music. It's really that we don't have a good venue. Like, the only... Like, there's just not a really good venue for music here, and nobody wants to build one. Which, I mean, I don't blame them. Did I do anything else this week? I still have not watched it. I'll get around to that Batman show, man. I know I should watch it. I'll get around to it. Right? I've been on a Superman kick. Right? I'm not going to interrupt that by going over to Batman, right? DC's favorite errand boy. Right? DC's golden child. No, I haven't watched that Batman show. I haven't watched The Boys Season 4 still. I'll get around to it. I still haven't seen episodes 3, 4, and now probably 5 of Kite Man. I actually did rewatch an episode of Harley Quinn, but specifically because I was looking for a joke. There was like a joke from that show that I was trying to remember, so I had to go like skimming through an episode or two to find it. And I can't even remember what the joke is now. I just remember like last week sometime I was going back through that one. I don't think I've played any video games. I mean, I played a little bit of the Splatfest last week. The final Splatfest is coming up in, you know, a month's time, basically. It'll be sad to see the game over. I did actually install... So, I looked it up. The last time we played Fall Guys on stream, they hadn't released a PS5 version of Fall Guys. Right? They were still using the PS4 version. Oh, let's go. You three are jumping around, but of course you have to come to me. I'm not giving up hope. So yeah, I went and downloaded the PS5 version of Fall Guys. I don't know, man. I just kind of want to play... You know, with Splatoon ending... And are we still going to keep playing Splatoon after it ends? Probably. But I don't know, man. I just kind of want to play Fall Guys again. Maybe it's because of all the Fortnite shit that's been happening recently. I don't know. I just kind of want to play Fall Guys again. Because I used to like that game. I used to be halfway decent at it. Not amazing, of course. But I was decent. And yeah, I just kind of miss it. Does it hold up? I mean, I'm sure the gameplay hasn't really changed much. It's more everything else that's probably the problem. Okay, I think we won that. Right, those guys were goofing off, and I was able to get in and take a bunch of space. Plus, some of the other guys clearly weren't goofing off either. Because it didn't look like we had... Maybe they had an AFK player, but it didn't look like we had a disconnect. I can't think of any... I can't think of anything else we've done. The Gravity Falls website, we have found some new information. Like, we finished that one... There's that one puzzle that stopped with Silas Birchtree, right? Who killed Silas Birchtree? We eventually figured that one out. Because the website's been updating and adding new stuff. So we eventually figured that out. And then there's been a few other things that's come out since then. Just, you know, small things. Right, we're pretty sure at this point, right, a big thing of the website is that it's basically Bill killed his... Right, when he destroyed his dimension, he killed his parents. And it's clear that, like, his parents' souls, for lack of a better word, are trapped inside of him. And, like, he's expressing his, like, regret of killing his parents. And, right, there's that whole message of, why did you do this? Why did you do this? That, like, echoes, like, that one of the creepier messages on the website. And so that's clearly, like, a whole thing. So we figured out that. But then other than that, you know... I really feel like once we solve that mystery, and, you know, the whole Silas Birchtree thing, it's kind of been like, you know, there hasn't been much. Because I don't think we're getting a new season. I'm just being honest. Right, this website, this org, just feels like it's for fun. And it's been fun, you know, I've had a good time exploring it. But I don't feel like anything big's happening anytime soon. Is the new salmon run... There's going to be a golden salmon run soon. I don't remember if it's this week or next week. We should go check the salmon run polls. Because I think a golden salmon run is coming. It's either this weekend or next weekend. Okay, it's probably next weekend. I don't know. I know there's a way to... Is it stages? Oh, it starts on this. Okay, it starts on the 17th. So, right, golden salmon runs, for those who don't know, they only happen 4 times a year. Sometimes even less than that, actually, I think. So, right, one of the golden salmon runs coming up, that's a pretty special event. It's got the triumvirate in it. So that should be a lot. Golden salmon runs are super fun. Honestly, they're special events for a reason, because they're pretty cool. So if you have a chance to check that out tomorrow, I definitely recommend it. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else. At least not that I can think of. Because, yeah, I didn't play any video games. I picked up the Thank Goodness You're Here, or whatever that game's called. I just haven't played it yet. Again, hopefully next week. I don't know. It's been a busy week, if I'm being honest. It has been a pretty busy week. Oh, hey, we got a hat here. I still think I need the badge, or the hat badge for the other thing. Catalog stuff. I don't know, I can check my hat badges. So what's coming up in the next week? So the first thing I should say, I was going to mention this last week and then just completely forgot. So, right, the Pikmin video. We did the 16-hour Pikmin stream, and I said I was going to make a video on it. Right, we were going to do a Pikmin video. Right, I was going to basically edit the 16 hours down to, like, 2 or 3. That hasn't happened yet. And the reason that hasn't happened, completely out of my control, my copy of Adobe Premiere that I primarily use Adobe Premiere for editing, it's just broken. Something in whatever the most recent update is just completely broke it. I can't... Reverting it, right? I've tried to revert it. I'm pretty sure I'm doing something wrong. So I'm hoping we just get a new update that fixes it. But I just cannot get it to work. I have tried, and it's just not working. It's so fucking annoying. I say that, but I have actually put out 2 videos since then, both on the Book of Bill. But those I was just easily able to... if you don't know, Microsoft Windows 11 has a video editor in the software. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. So those 2 videos were made using that software. And because I don't want to use Sony New Vegas. That, nah, I'm good. Yay, there's our badge. I've been trying to get that badge forever now. So now the only badges we're missing are from the original game. I hope there's a new set of clothing in the next update, because else this is going to be a pain in the ass to get these last 2 badges. We've got all the shirt badges, but we need the shoe badge and the hat badge here. Other than that, right, I've got all 3 of the shirt badges. So that'll be something we got to work on. But yeah, so I haven't got the Pikmin. I don't know when the fuck I'm going to get that Pikmin video out. Right, if I'm hoping just like any day now, it's like, oh yeah, here's the new update. Hey, that fixes everything. I check every like few days to be like, oh, when's the new update going to come out? And I just hope the new update fixes everything. There's a chance it doesn't, but you know, I hope it does. I don't hate that mask, the sleep mask. I think that's cute. I think that's in the battle pass though. Either that or... Oh, wait, I just straight up have that. I like that you can adjust it to cover the eyes. That's, I think, the detail I like the most about it. I might train that piece of gear up. Because, yeah, quick respawn's not a terrible thing. Admittedly, I think Empray is, action, intensify action, which... Yeah. Other than that, you know, I don't hate that. So, yeah, I don't know when the Pikmin thing's coming out. Other than that, you know, we've got no plans for the stream coming soon. Like, yeah, at some point we're going to do, Link's Awakening, right? I've already said we're going to do Link's Awakening, but that'll be sometime in September. That's still, like, 2 weeks away. So we've still got time until then. But other than that, I have no plans, you know. I did the one giant stream I wanted to do. Other than that, it's just kind of like, hey, yeah, you know, we're just going to keep doing in chat. I have no plans for anything that special. I went, I booted up Pokemon, and I did some shiny hunting, and I got a shiny, Comfey. I like Comfey. I actually used one in, Gen 7. My second playthrough, of, well, I say it's my second Gen 7 playthrough. It was my playthrough of Ultra Sun, because I did a Moon playthrough, and then I did an Ultra Sun playthrough, and I used a Comfey in that one. Pretty decent little guy. So yeah, I now have a shiny one of those, because that's the current Pokemon thing that's running. So okay, I did play a video game. Oh fuck, you know what I didn't talk about? The Grandest game. So right, previously we had talked about the Inheritance Games books. And I liked the first 4 books. I thought they were all fine. I read The Grandest Game. I did not like that book. I feel like it both had too much going on and not enough going on. Because, right, the story in The Grandest Game is split between 3 perspectives. And each perspective has its own puzzles and its own riddles to solve, its own characters, some of which we've never met before, some of which we have, and you have to kind of keep all of it in your head at the same time. I feel like the character interactions weren't, like, amazing. Like, okay, my biggest problem is that the big plot twist reveal at the end of The Grandest Game is basically the plot twist reveal at the end of the previous book. The, Hawthorne Brothers, the Brothers Hawthorne, or whatever the book was called. I'm not gonna spoil it, obviously. But I was like, you know, they end up revealing something. And I was like, I've known this the entire time. Like, sure, they didn't directly say it at the end. They only, like, hinted at it in the previous book. But I was like, I've known this information the entire time. Why the fuck are you acting like this is your big end-of-book reveal? Like, yeah, technically they never said it. But I read the previous book. I know what the fuck is going on here. And then the entire book is like an escape room. And the other thing, this, I guess, maybe this might actually be the bigger problem, is that this book doesn't have an end, right? The book just kind of stops. It doesn't actually, so it's 7 people on an island trying to solve a series of puzzles. It's technically 8, but that's semantics. And so at the end of the book, you'd think like, oh, they've solved all the puzzles, and they've picked a winner between these 8 people. Nope. The book ends having only completed the first of like 4 days of puzzles. And like, yeah, some people get eliminated, but no, this does not feel like all the previous books felt like they had like conclusive ends. Like Star Wars, right? Like, yeah, they're not always the happiest, cleanest endings, but they're endings, right? Oh, boom, the first book ends with her, solving the riddle, reuniting the brothers. The second book ends with her figuring out their parents' mystery and finding out that her father, at least the person who, was kind of like her father, kind of, not really, kind of. You find out that, oh, he's alive and whatnot. Right? Like, it ends, they end on specific notes. This one does not. Right? Even the previous one, Book 4, the Hawthorne Legacy or whatever it was called, the Hawthorne Brothers, that one has an ending. This one just straight up doesn't. So yeah, I definitely think this is the weakest book so far. And I was actually really disappointed with it. Like, I wanted more. And I'm kind of sad we didn't get more. But what you gonna do? It took me forever to read. Right, you can tell I was less interested. Because, like, I read the second book in, like, 48 hours. I was super invested in those first 3 books. This one, though, I started it, read the first few chapters, right, like, read the first, like, 20 chapters, and then I didn't touch it again for, like, 2 weeks. And, right, I kind of had to, like, push myself to go and finish it. Alright, we've been befuddling around enough now. I think this is where we're going to end off. Next time when we come back, we'll be back with more Splatoon. Maybe Gamescom will have happened. Maybe we'll have some news. That's not just another Switch rumor. Actually, to be fair, we actually had pretty much all good news tonight. I mean, Tango Gameworks being revived, Plucky Squire getting a release date, Trombone Champ unflattened. That's all some pretty good news. So yeah, I guess it all worked out in the end. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Till next time, peace.